CoThinkk video submission 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm Sangoma Oludoye of the Kindred of Sangoma, and our beloved Kindred is a very proud alliance of cultural and sacred activists, earth skills and wilderness educators, gardeners, farmers, social entrepreneurs. We are indeed humbled to sit in the sacred lodge of grandmothers, elders, and have a seat of honor in many communities from Maine to Miami. We are indeed blessed and highly favored in our service to others as a spiritual midwife, a way shower, a lighthouse, beaming on the roads opening before us, entering into the age of Aquarius, the great turning of the wheel, the golden age, our new earth. As the North Star of our 8 Shields model of shared leadership in the Kindred of Sangoma, we are grateful to lead by example. We strive to lay strong cultural foundations under the bridges we are building to forge our way forward into a more harmonious and sustainable future with the earth and all our relations. As a traditionally initiated Yoruba priest of the ancestors and Orisha, and the fabric of our destiny in this lifetime is to undergird, support, repair, honor, uphold the covenants and agreements between the living, the dead, and those waiting to be born. We bring good medicine to the people by sharing and teaching reconciliation in the church of nature and all our relations. This November, my husband, Eddie Pascal, and I will celebrate 3 decades plus 1. And I gave birth to 3 very gifted and powerful daughters, and we have a dozen grandchildren. And as of October, then we will have 3 great grands. So we are blessed. Simply put, we work for them. We never get that confused. Our reimagining of systemic change serves their emerging leadership and humanity. We seek to leave them a legacy filled with the inheritance of a good bill of goods, equal or superior to our inheritance, to those that raised us and the ancestors that raised us all. We have lived and worked in Asheville, and through our introduction to the Mother Read program, the idea for this initiative is born. Our Kindred Alliances, which are highlighted very nicely on the website in our About Us page, spans a wide diversity of beliefs and cultures and social activism. Our common ground is the acknowledgement that root changes are necessary in our collective and individual souls. As the worm of race relations and power overturns and the BIPOC communities find their place at the table with a deep and true sense of equality, we truly begin the unity in community. And some of the allies that we're hoping and praying to partner with in this endeavor would be the Asheville Department of Family and Children's Services, the Wild Darlings Healing Arts Collective, the Mother Read program, as we mentioned, Asheville Public Housing, Mandela Springs in Bernardsville, Humble Hill in Waynesville, Firefly also in Bernardsville, Earth Haven Eco Village in Asheville area, we're going to say, the Raven and the Chrome Bookstore, and the Sacred Hoop Women's Prayer Collective, who we do a number of Inipi ceremonies with. We want to just pause, and it's not really a pause, but I noticed in our preparedness for you that we had in our mind to speak a little bit about the Mother Read program and why they were an integral part of this initiative It is just an amazing program. The first time, two of my friends, Alice Dixon and Kristen Wilson, who work in Asheville Department of Family and Children's Services, said, you know, we think you ought to go over to this Mother Read program. They meet every Wednesday around lunchtime in one of these community centers in the project. And I said, okay, I'm great. I'd love to. And at the time, In My Grandmother's Hands was out, and they were saying how they had started their initiative there in this reading of this book together, but they really didn't give me much more preparation for that. And so as I entered in and was sitting at the table, and I kid you not, it wasn't quite the fifth sacred thing, but probably it was the closest I have gotten to it, that we have all of these women from the community, wives, mothers, city council women that work right with the heart of the old white patriarchal leadership in Asheville, and filling out the table were our sisters of color, Hispanic and African American, who are residents with their holding their babies right there from the project. And buddy row, you know what I'm saying? Like, they were in the learning not only of the issues they were all bringing to the table, but just a sense of fairness and a sense of what is it going to take for us to be allies. I was extremely impressed with this, down to the point that as we go around and check in, women of color have 3 minutes and white women have 1 minute. I mean, it just, like, it created itself in a way that says, oh, we missed a couple of places where we were disrespectful to each other, or we didn't know how to do it. And now we're going to pick up some of those instruments. So it just seemed like a really good fit, having gone through decolonization work and exercises and sound baths and a number of healing modalities went on in our first shooting of the Wild Darlings film. And I just think it's a good fit. I think each community has another mirror of tools and medicines that they can hold up for each other and really apply to some good works. But the very first time I went, I said, oh, wow, I wish this was going on in every community, in Savannah, in Chicago, in New York. I wish this was going on in every community where privileged white women felt a need, not only to just write a check and try to make it better, but to literally sit down and be respectful and listen to the hearts and the needs of women of color. So that kind of like was a good segue into the impacts, right? Because there you have it. I was impacted just by going to the very first meeting. But the Wild Darlings Healing Collective invites community participants to our adventures and explorations in search of the healer within. And I have had a long span and journey with many daughters who have survived sexual and childhood trauma and childhood abuse. So I wanted to clarify that when we say finding the healer within, trust has been violated and broken. So actually these young people are no longer able to look outside of themselves, particularly, and think someone is just going to come along and offer them a healing. And much more powerful to them in that isolation, in that place of who can I turn to, who can I talk to, who in their family will actually believe them, that they have to dig up an ancient healer from inside here. And it's good work. And we think that this evening that we're proposing to you, and this women's empowerment retreat that we are proposing to you, is a really good way to start. Really good way to start. The primary impact of the Wild Darlings Healing Collective is aimed into the shadows of all of our communities. And the secrets the little girls hide, still with us. as we wait for the last scab of the human trafficking to be exposed to all of us, and it will, you know, because we have been, for whatever reason, covering up for our husbands or boyfriends or pedophiles or predators that we all know in our communities. And we've been shoving that conversation under the rug. So we want to impact that. We want to impact that, and in a good way. I know I was very impressed with the number of young ladies that came along far enough in their healing to feel like they had something to give to the healing of the predator. And how amazing is that? Or they had something to give to the healing of their own mothers who had full knowledge of their being raped by a family member. So that's pretty big. I just want to give you an example that this work works. And because, you know, I can't say it's not my experience. I can't say that I would have ever been able to do it. But when a child who, like any other child, loves their parent for the good, bad, and the ugly, is able to feel whole enough in their person, then that healing, like a waterfall, spills out of them. And it spills out to those who harmed them and to those who had knowledge of them being harmed. So moving forward, we're focused on building strength through our collaborations, revealing and presenting useful and productive exchanges of gifts and skills and trades and marketplace, how we sustain ourselves. These young women, I've watched them, I talk to them every Monday evening, this past Monday evening, of the strides they're making in pivoting from working for someone else or hustle on the street, or to now being able to nurture and dance with that creative muse that says, oh wow, yeah, I'm pretty good at this yoga meditation thing. Oh wow, I'm pretty good at designing these garments. And one young lady, our Dewberry darling, is moving into a great theater production for the next 3 weeks, and she does have very fabulous costuming. So yeah, trades and gifts and skills and marketplace in this sacred circle that I'm gonna outline to you of how that looks the evening up in Barnardsville. This is what we are talking about, and this is what we are exchanging, and what tools we are in possession of. And by hearing each and every other daughter's part of our story, because all of our stories are each other's stories, really, that's what we always come to find out in weaving that web, and how we can really build our unity together and our strength together. So we're envisioning an early afternoon gathering on Mandela Springs, and it's great. I was just there for our Still Our Rise art exhibit, and there's you know, it can be indoor or outdoor, and we're looking maybe at mid-October for getting started with it. And we want it to be emotionally and spiritually uplifting and transformative. Together, participants will create sacred space, which in the average world, not even a lot of people know the difference between chitter chatter up here and dropping into a sacred space where every voice is honored and recognized and has an opportunity to speak. It's almost like a practice session in finding your voice and learning to accept respect in the room for listening. So it's a real good exercise. And with our hearts and our listening bowls open, we'll pass the talking stick and serve tea. We will explore what is the nature of the change we are most in need of. And we'll co-create cultural redesigns of our codes of conduct in ourselves, in our families, and in our communities. And, you know, take it from a 60-plus person right through here. Our codes of conduct are in shambles. If you really want to know what's going on in our world, people have forgotten, or they're not, you know, they're not just the strength and the backbone, you know. When we came up, you minded your P's and Q's, the old people told you, and you knew that that meant your manners, your respect, how you handled yourself, that you didn't go anywhere and embarrass your family members. And so some of this might be news to some of those women and families coming from the projects outside of Asheville. I've been there. I know. They don't quite have a handle on that part yet. Our evening will culminate with the screening and the trailer and sizzle reel, which we're pretty excited about, from Wild Darlings, A Song of Freedom.
Just like these 11 darlings here, there are thousands more like them around the world. Black girl magic is not just a catchy phrase. Black women hold a special key to the mysteries of the universe. They are divine genius.
In the long haul, we started out as a full-length feature film, and now here we are kind of halfway through it. By next spring or summer, we hope to actually finish that film project on a plantation in Mississippi. And it probably, in all reality, we think it has a better chance of being seen on Netflix or HBO or Hulu in this episode form, rather than to go the route of a full feature film, just considering what has happened now with the pandemic and making films like that in the first place. So we hope to raise matching funds. We just geared up our Wild Darlings Song of Freedom page on our website and are putting some information out there and personal invitations in terms of what we're doing to match your generous award of $3,500 here. We also have a retreat weekend coming up. Could be the end of September or October before we actually even receive these funds, where we will go up and we will do a very personal, just cast members only healing retreat in upstate New York. So there are a number of gatherings that tie into the receipt or becoming a recipient of the CoThinkk Award. And we thank you for listening to us today. And we are very much in need of a fiscal agent in this area to partner with us for this initiative. And of course, if you have any questions, our information is certainly attached to the submission. Thanks.